So I think we have an interesting agenda today. We got some good stuff happening, but I think we'll call the May 16th State Board of Landscape Architects meeting to order at 9:32. Board members present currently, myself, Phil Barlow, and Dom Saltruda. And I think the first order of business is going to be welcoming and the swearing in of two new board members.
Yeah.
Miss Janice Parker and Miss Maureen Nicholson. I believe we have someone from the state that will help us out in the official swearing in
Yes,
of both of these individuals.
Yes, good morning. This is Cynthia Fernandez. I'm an attorney with DCP. I'll be swearing them in.
Hi, Cynthia.
How are you?
Great. We're actually great today.
Busy.
I don't know if you want to do this in any specific order, but how it sits on my list is I have Maureen Nicholson's appointment letter, and I wouldn't mind if Maureen is present. Is she present?
She is not, no.
Can she be sworn in if she's not present?
No, she would have to affirm the oath.
Okay, maybe she'll join later. Janice Parker, is she present?
Neither seem to be on.
Okay, so that'll put a little damper on our excitement. But I'm looking at the appointment letters, so that is excitement.
If they do end up coming on, I'm here anyway also for the regulations, so I'll stay on and I could always swear them in later.
That's great.
I'll ask the question. They were invited to this meeting, correct?
Yes, trust me, they were invited to the meeting, along with multiple others. I still am very happy that we have these appointment letters.
I am in agreement with you on that.
It was a lot of work behind the scenes. So everybody at the state level who made it happen, kudos to them.
So I'm happy as well, but what happened to Steve Woods?
Steve Woods has been contacted to see if he wants to accept another public member vacancy. And as of a week or two ago, they hadn't got a response from him.
Mark, do you know who
Janice
contacted
Parker
him?
just made contact. I just noticed in the
Mark, do you know who contacted him?
Yes, I can get you the name. I was copied on the email correspondence because I asked.
Okay, that's okay. That'd be great.
But yeah,
awesome.
He was definitely contacted. Good. We waited long enough. I think we got Ms. Parker to join.
Perfect.
Hi, Janice. Can you hear us?
They can hear us or not.
I think the answer is no.
It's just no. So I'm gonna shatter.
Dom, you gonna shoot her a chat?
Yeah. Trying to anyway. Is it overall? It's an overall.
She's not muted.
I don't know if you see in the chat or not.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you froze or not. Well,
Okay.
I think we froze on her. We'll keep moving.
Yeah, let's keep moving, and if maybe we'll get both new members to join, and we can get them in. As far as them being part of any approvals or motions. I think it probably wouldn't happen today anyway, as far as reviewing stuff. So it's going to be the three of us moving through the agenda. So let's hope we can get both of them to join again. But item number one, review of the February 21st, 2023 meeting minutes. Did you gentlemen have a chance to review them? I did. And besides just a little different take on how they were written, I didn't have anything. But Dom, did you have anything you want to change?
I was good. Yeah, no. I didn't know it was that important about UConn, but I'll agree with it.
I know.
Oh, I see Janice Parker has a mute button now. Can you unmute for a second, Janice? No, can't unmute.
Yeah, I can now.
Oh,
Yeah,
see,
there
now
we
we
go.
got her.
I don't know. I had a lot of trouble joining. Sorry. I don't understand why, but it's fine now.
Well, we're happy to have you. Let's just finish up item one
Okay.
while we
Okay.
started it. Phil, did you have any comments?
I do, and just kind of the same as Dom's. I don't think it's clear the intent of comment number 7. Board members Truda's biggest concern is how to get out to UConn.
I thought it was pretty straight to the point.
Okay, all
So,
right, so
I
Dom doesn't know how to get to UConn?
I don't know how to get to UConn.
Okay,
Yeah,
good, fair enough, fair enough.
So I guess we could modify it, just to say the coordination and presentation with the UConn students is
Correct.
one of the biggest,
Yes.
I don't know if it's concern or focus. So I can't tell you, just a little update. We almost got in there. We did have back and forth. I did have back and forth with the contacts up there. It wasn't going to happen at the end of the year. But I think we're in pretty good shape to get up there in the spring.
What does that mean, Mark?
With a presentation, we have the presentation about CLARB and stuff like that. And I believe we're going to be able to get into, if it's not the professional practice class, it will be a group of junior, senior students.
Are you saying next spring?
I'm saying this fall. If I said
Okay, and
spring,
is
I'm
it-
sorry.
Is it set up yet?
It's not set up. We had some communications about maybe trying to get in before this graduating class left, but it
Okay.
just didn't work out. So I
You
can
can't
tell
set
you,
it up. You can't set it up for the fall at this point?
yeah, I'm sure we can. I'm sure we can.
Okay. Good enough.
Anything else with those meeting minutes? I can work with Jason and maybe get those modified.
That's it. That's all I have.
Okay. So with that modification, we can, anybody want to make a motion to approve those?
To approve.
Okay.
All in
Second.
favor?
I,
So Janice, we'll get you voting after we get you sworn in.
oh, okay.
Yeah, you're gonna be in a little bit of a situation because I don't know if you're gonna have had the time to review everything and you weren't at that last meeting, so bear with us 1 minute.
Yeah, no,
and-
I have the notes here, so you let me know when you need me
Okay,
to
gotcha.
participate. I got the notes up.
So all in favor, all three?
Yeah.
Okay,
Aye.
all right, so that takes care of item 1. Now I think we have Janice Parker. I don't know if we had,
I don't see her.
Maureen join?
Candidate. Not yet.
but because we have Janice, thank you for joining, Janice. Thank you for accepting your appointment. We're excited
Yes.
to
you.
have you. Before swearing in, I wanted to give you the floor for, I don't know, a minute and just give a little background for us, Dom, Phil, myself, and anybody else on the call at the state level. Just maybe give us a little bit of background, and then we will get you sworn in.
Okay, now, I appreciate that. I'll just wing it. So I started in my firm. I started in 1986, and I was a landscape designer. I went to Parsons and gathered other training. At that time, there was no CAD in drawing and blueprints. I did not get a master's in landscape architecture. I didn't actually complete any college, which made it very challenging for me to sit for the national board exams, though I did petition Hartford and I did finally have enough commendations. I was teaching at the New York Botanical Garden and I had landscape architects working for me. So I sat for the exams, I passed them all, and I take the profession very seriously. Everyone in my firm is either on licensure track, which I support financially, or is licensed. I do appreciate the role landscape designers play in our industry, having been one. And I also feel that actually becoming licensed is very important. I sit on the board of the New York Restoration Project. I'm on the board of trustees. I've been on the board or involved with them for 25 years since they started. So we have Bette Midler started it. We work with the Parks Department. I started the Million Trees program with the Parks Department. And we finished ahead of schedule and below budget. I also started it with the Cherry Tree Esplanade. So I planted the Harlem River Drive with the cherry trees and a few crab apples thrown in there. I also am a founding member of Los Niños de Caridad, which is a charity in the South Bronx run through a doctor and a healthcare program where we mentor kids at risk because it is a clinic where the doctor who runs it, we have a homework club and they've started a TV station and I've encouraged them to follow through on their different chosen professions. And it's a very meaningful experience. And I can't be sure that our gardens with New York Restoration, we have 52 of them, actually do poverty alleviation, but I know that Los Niños de la Caridad does, and that we are saving kids' lives, and they are all mentored. We are trying to get 100 mentors. We need 100 mentors, so anybody out there who's willing to make a year commitment to one of these kids would be well appreciated. We have the master's education students in the master's program from Fordham, which is right across the street from our homework club, has been doing an enormous amount of mentoring for the kids. And we have not lost a single kid. And we have many kids in pre-med and pre-law. And also NASA has sent us opportunities for internships there. We have a full robotics program that's been donated. And we also, the kids run a TV show, Leaders of the Future, on Bronx TV. Wow. So it's, that's very important to me as well. My firm, again, like I said, it's all licensed. We are across the street from Whole Foods in Greenwich. We do international projects. We're working in Sardinia. We were working in Russia. We work in California on agricultural campuses, as well as high-end residential and city jobs. And last week, we, for the third time, donated our time and services to the Kips Bay Decorator Show House, which benefits the Kips Bay Boys and Girls Clubs in the South Bronx. So we did a lot of work. We do a lot of work with that as well. I was born and raised in Manhattan, and though I don't live there anymore, that is my view of things. And yes, I fell in love with plants and flowers in Manhattan. My first memory is of a flower. So that's that's what I do, and that's how I do it. And been at it for a while. I love the profession. I think that we've had challenges, as all professions do. I'm also sit on the stewardship board of the Cultural Landscape Foundation, which is interesting. It's connected me with landscape architects across the country, which has been very valuable for when we have a client and I need, to pass the job along to someone else. I don't want it particularly. And in that arena, I also am a juror and an award recipient from the Institute of Classical Art and Architecture, So in the different regional chapters, I sit on the juries for their local awards, as well as here in New York. And I'm exhausted just thinking about it all.
Well, we thank you for that, and we welcome your experience and your passion for landscape architecture. And I think this will be a different type of hat that you'll wear on this board when we look at making sure that we uphold the regulations and statutes for landscape architecture in the state of Connecticut. So that's we're looking forward to it. So Cynthia, I will turn it over to you if we want to walk through the process.
Sure, thank you. Okay, so Ms. Parker, if you could please raise your right hand. And you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that you will faithfully discharge, according to law, your duties as member of the State Board of Landscape Architects to the best of your abilities, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury.
I do.
Thank you, you're official. Congratulations.
Great,
Congrats.
welcome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I got to say, that was impressive, especially for an off-the-cuff presentation.
Yeah.
Very good.
Very good, very good. And I'm assuming you got the board package, Janice?
I did.
Okay. So I think moving forward, I mean, if there's any old business that you weren't part of, completely understand if you don't have opinion on that one. But as far as board package applications, you know, I think go through the process, see how we handle it, and ask any questions that you may have.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Number 2 on the agenda, comments or concerns of any person present today. I believe we may have a couple people in the audience. I have spoken to a couple before the meeting. So if you would like to address the board, please raise your hand or state your name, and then you will have the floor. So I think we had John Lucy. There was a little bit of back and forth. John, if you're available and want to sort of take the floor, that is absolutely fine. You can do that at this point.
Good morning. Thank you for welcoming me to the meeting. I hope you can hear me. And I've been in the profession for a number of years. I graduated from Cornell in '91. And then there was a recession. I ran a small 5-acre specimen nursery. And then I took a position as a junior landscape architect. I worked for 5 years underneath a licensed landscape architect in New York. And then I took the exam actually in Waterbury, not Danbury. I sat for it there and I passed all 5 sections of the exam. I shortly thereafter left the profession and worked on a private estate on an island, and then returned once again to the profession from 2006 to 2009. After that point in time, I did do work for construction companies and estimating and specifying for high-end residences on the east end of Long Island. The issue that comes up is my experience. My first employer of 5 years has blocked CLARB for responding to requests for employment, not just for myself, but for anyone that's worked for him in the past. And my second employer passed away just a couple of years ago. His wife was the office manager and was in the office with us every day for 3 years. She could verify my time. So I have a number of years experience. I'm currently working for a landscape architecture firm, again, underneath the supervision of a licensed landscape architect. Because I cannot get the education, not the education, but the experience recorded as per CLARB's request, I have to pursue it through the state itself. I did have my test scores sent to the Connecticut to a Mr. Robert Kuzmich. And I was told by CLARB I should have my transcripts forwarded from Cornell for your review as well. The other item would be whether or not you would recognize my experience and accept the information from the widow of my past employer.
Okay, so for the board's purposes, I am in receipt of a letter. I got it yesterday, or I would have sent it to you guys. I have a letter from a Glenn Martin, professional landscape architect, ASLA, from Design Professionals, stating that he's worked with John for a while and attests to John's professional character. I also have a letter from John Lucy himself that explains pretty much what John just explained to us as far as his experience. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you have passed the LARE exam.
Yes,
You have graduated with a degree in landscape architecture, Bachelor of Science,
that's correct.
and you have quite a bit of experience. You're just running into the verification of
Technicality and
experience.
verification.
Exactly.
But I can assure you that just reading the experience that you appear to have had, I feel like you're in pretty good shape as far as meeting the 3 E's, the
All right.
education, the experience, and the exam. But I think what my recommendation would be, and I'll let my fellow board members also chime in, is you have to go through the online application process with
Yes.
DCP. And once you get all the information in a formal way, then I think we can act on it. We can
All right.
probably give you some guidance right now, but I will let Dom.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think that we have everybody on this, that where maybe we could, I don't know who our person is. I apologize. I know we've got 9,000 people on this call, but maybe somebody can give him an email address so he doesn't have to, he can go through the online process, but he can have a proctor with DCP. I agree with you. I don't know if you know Mark. Phil and I know Glenn Martin pretty well. We both worked with him. If he's attesting to it, as long as we can check the boxes, we can have that Cornell transcripts available. And then we can, kind of have even some verification, whatever it may be. I think the years of service, and then obviously Clarb verifying that he has actually passed the LARE. It's pretty much, I think we can approve it, but we need the information.
So I did get a message from Marguerite, DCP, that Mr. Lucy has submitted an online application. He is not part of our approval agenda at the moment. So besides having the letter in my hands, the 2 letters, I don't have that application. So,
and was part of that application the copy of the transcript and the copy of the exam. Those are the 2 that we need to see to make sure that we verify it before we can approve.
So Marguerite's she's typing at the moment. So
Hi, I'll just speak up. Can you hear me
Sure.
okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So his application included a Clarb certificate number, and it may just be me not being thoroughly familiar with Clarb's website, but going back through any transmittals, I have them available from the past year, and I don't have something from him in there. And otherwise I have access to exam results, but only through 2015. So I'm not sure when he sat for the exam.
He probably sat for the original exam.
Would have been
So-
2001.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can reach out to Clarb and see if that's something that they can get me.
Yeah, and Mr. Lucy, it's one of those things where I don't see this being an issue. Our job is, if you're qualified and meet the criteria, we want to get you licensed.
Okay.
But we do need to have something to physically see, put our hands on, tangible. It seems like everything's there. And if we can work to get everything in line, I don't see it being a problem getting you on the agenda for the August meeting, although I hate to make you wait until the August meeting, but
That's all right.
unless any of my colleagues have another way to get around this one, I don't know if we can.
All right, I have a copy of the email from Clarb dated February 21st, 2023, and that was addressed to Mr. Robert Kuzmich, and that included my transmittal of my LAIR scores. The results have been
Okay.
transmitted to the above jurisdiction, and that was the Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection. So somewhere are my test scores.
It exists, and I'm
All right.
sure it is.
All
The
right.
department itself has gone through some changes, not making an excuse, but with any change in sort of administrative staff and there has been significant amount, I will apologize on everyone's behalf that if you did submit it, I wish we had it. And we will do what we can to make sure that that we get everything in a row so we can get you formally on an agenda. Phil, did you want to say something?
I did, Mark. So who was the employer that we don't have a record from? Just curious.
This would be Timothy Rumpf.
Okay,
Oh, and George Lynch was the man who passed away.
okay. So don't know him. So John, are you licensed at all?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
which was
Okay. Are you the John Lucy from East Hampton, New York?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So I do have and I agree that we can get you licensed. I do have a minor bone to pick on your LinkedIn page. You list yourself as a landscape architect.
I passed the exam. I went to school for it. I work as a landscape designer here in my office. So that would be the role that I've taken. And in the LinkedIn, I was pursuing a position as a landscape architect and not a landscape designer. So, and my goal was to get my licensure ultimately. So that my LinkedIn position is for employment purposes.
So to Phil's comment, we would highly recommend that you do not call yourself a landscape architect when pursuing landscape architectural licensure, especially in the state of Connecticut. We take it very seriously that you call yourself a landscape architect in the state of Connecticut when you're licensed.
All right.
I think we can probably keep it as simple as that one. We
right.
don't have to go into any more detail, but we take that very seriously. If you're not a licensed landscape architect and you call yourself a landscape architect, that opens up another can of worms. So we would highly recommend that you call yourself a landscape.
I can strike that for you. That's fine.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Mark, I'm gonna offer just some more discussion on this for a second. I mean, is it possible, and maybe DCP can chime in on this one, that if between now and our next meeting, he meets the criteria in terms of we get the copy of his transcript, we get his I'm not, we get some sort of letter for the years of service, compounded with Glenn's letter. And then he also meets the, we get a copy of the Cornell transcript that we could say upon receiving and approval of those three items, we can almost do it as administrative at that point. Is that something we can do? Or do you think we have to wait till May? I'm sorry, till the next one.
Yep, I agree with everything that you're saying.
I don't know if it's possible.
I don't think we can make a motion on conditional.
Understood.
Yeah, that's just how I feel.
Yeah.
If anybody else wants to weigh in on that one, it's tough to make a motion second and vote on something that we don't have in front of us. I think we're given some good guidance that everything looks good. We probably have somewhere in the DCP email.
Well, who should he be reaching out to now? I guess is it going to?
Well, that's a good question for both Marguerite and Jason Cohn. Do we have an email that he can direct his information to, so we don't misplace it or it just gets to the right person?
So I'm currently drafting an email to a woman at CLARB inquiring to see if she can forward me what was sent to Mr. Kuzmich. Also, I'll go ahead and send an email to John, to Mr. Lucy. I have a Yahoo email on file. That's correct.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Yep. So I'll send you one so you have my email directly.
All right. And I'll contact Cornell and have my transcript sent over to that future address.
So best case scenario is our August 23rd meeting. You will be on that agenda.
That
Yes,
sounds great.
yes.
Okay.
Tell Glenn we said hello.
I will. He's right here next to me. Next cubicle over.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cohn.
Thank you.
Oh.
Everyone.
Lucy, sorry.
That's all
Got a
right.
lot of names in my screen over
That's
here.
okay. I see the list in front of me now. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Okay, staying on comments or concerns, is there anyone else in the audience? And I'm looking at Miss DeSamini. If you would like to make a statement, this is your time.
Can you hear me?
Well, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for the time. My name's Jill DeSimini, and I am looking for advice on how to reinstate my Connecticut landscape architecture license. Just for a little bit of background, I'm associate professor and the new program director for landscape architecture at the University of Connecticut. I've been in this position since August, and currently on our faculty, we don't have any licensed landscape architects, so I felt it was important to have a licensed landscape architect on faculty. Prior to this, I was teaching at the GSD at the Graduate School of Design at Harvard for 12 years. Teaching in the Masters of Landscape Architecture program, the studio sequence, but also other types of courses, materials and methods, representation, other things. And I reached out, I guess, in the fall on the process of reinstating my license, and I was told that I would pay a fee, which is fine, that I could provide a test of it, that I haven't been practicing, which is true. I have not stamped any drawings. I have not done any sort of formal practice without a active license. And then the last thing was around continuing education requirements. And so I have given lectures and things that are continuing ed credits, but I'm fairly lapsed in terms of actually documenting them. I can go back and provide documentation, but I just wanted to, I guess, get clarity on what sort of documentation would be necessary before digging into the recesses of my emails and files and that sort of thing. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. We do have some level of precedence. A couple of years ago, I did go back and look at our files. We did have someone that I think had their license lapse for 10 or 12 years. And similar to you, although different, did request, how do I get reinstatement? Primarily, I mean, the fee is the fee. We focused a little bit on CEUs. You know, what do we do when somebody hasn't had that CEU documentation, you know, every 2 years submitted with licensure? What we determined, I did go back and look, guys, just to make sure we sort of follow suit, is the determination was minimum was when you come back for reinstatement, have the 24 CEUs that are required biannually. And then the justification on anything on top of that would be the purview of the board. So what we're asking for is document everything you have that you feel may be a CEU. I think, you know, being a professor, teaching classes, stuff like that is extremely important. But understanding it's not going to be as black and white. So what we would ask you to do is to justify at minimum of 24 CEUs before you're asking for reinstatement. But on top of that, anything else that you can show. We did throw out, I think we had a discussion of potentially a total of 48 for the person who was 10 plus 10 years lapsed. But I think at this point, it's a matter of documenting it the best you can and putting it back in front of us for a review, knowing that 24 would be the absolute minimum. So that was my summary. I did review it. Dom, Phil.
Yeah, I'll chime in too. I mean, you're in an interesting circumstance, but just make sure, obviously, you're following those.
Dom, you're breaking up a little bit.
Sorry. Any better?
Yes.
All right, sorry about that. Just make sure you're following health, safety, and welfare parameters for those CEUs. You know, obviously prep time for classes that fall in that category. You can document that for if it's a semester long. Any presentations that you had done, if you've done some talks and things like that, if you have dates and times, or even if it's rough, I spoke at this symposium, things along those lines are going to be helpful to paint a picture. If you have attended any classes, if it's not just teaching, even better. You know, if you've gone to an ASLA event, or if you went to even an AIA event, I've done ADA education out west. Anything you have in there that can justify that you're trying to better yourself in terms of the continuing education format.
And is there a time lapse, a date for those 24 CUs? Are you looking for them in the last 2 years, or?
Yeah, so the 24,
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's a good clarification. So the 24 would be in the last 2 years. Additional ones, submit everything that you got.
Okay, great. And I submit that through the online portal as well as that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good bet, and I'm gonna ask Marguerite again. Do you have an email address for Ms. Dissamini? And can we just double check things? If she does submit things, is there a way that we can have an email submission too, just so we kind of get back on track? Is that a possibility?
Sure. So one, I believe the reinstatement application is online only. Let me double check here. Otherwise, a good email address is actually, it's a general one, but I do get those. It's DCP for Department of Consumer Protection .occupationalprofessional@ct.gov.
And I think
Okay.
it goes without saying you were licensed in the state of Connecticut, correct?
Yes, that's
Yes,
correct.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Just
So
cross.
I will follow up for that. And if I get it in before a certain date, it will be for the August meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Correct, yeah. I mean, we try to set the agendas a couple weeks before, so August 23rd is the meeting. So if you can get it in the summer, that would be perfect.
Okay, great. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay. You got something, Don?
I was going to say, she's what's her position at UConn? She was at UConn or no?
Yeah.
Can she be our connection to try
Yeah,
to get
maybe.
in there? I mean, we've got her on the phone right now.
Why not? We've been kicking this around for so long.
Jill, we have a question. Or maybe we have to
Sure,
put it down.
I'm the program director, incoming program director. So, and yeah, associate professor. So essentially.
See that?
But
Maybe
I
we
did
can talk-
miss
Dom,
the-
it's perfect. She's
We
doing
can
your
talk-
job now.
we can talk offline, maybe. I don't know. That's
Okay.
that's awesome. We'll have to get in touch with
Okay.
her.
Yes.
Yeah, my email's on the website, so it should be easy. I had some audio issues at the very beginning of the meeting, so I missed what you were.
We're
Okay.
trying to get up
Yeah.
to the school in the fall now. We were trying for the spring to explain, you know, the licensure process in the state of Connecticut, talk to the students about CLARB and the process, and just kind of, you know, introduce them to the process in Connecticut and CLARB and the, you know, the licensure portion, the juniors and seniors. So
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, we teach professional practice in the fall, so that seems like the perfect
Yeah.
venue for that. But we can also open it up so that the juniors can attend.
Correct. Correct. I think it's great. And it sounds like, looking at your background and your experience, the universities, it's good that they have you.
Thank you. All right, I'll let you move on to your other.
All
thing.
right. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak? Okay, moving on. Item 3, DCP Investigation Division Complaint Status Report.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. This is Janita Hamel from Occupational Professional Enforcement for the Investigation Division. For the time frame from your last meeting through your meeting through April 30th, when I ran the last reports, there are no new complaint cases filed against any landscape architect or any case alleging someone was identifying as a landscape architect without being licensed or any other issues. So we have not received any new cases, and during that time frame, we have not closed any cases either. It's as we've spoken in the past, it tends to be limited in the amount of cases that are forwarded to us about landscape architects or issues with landscape architects. But I want to congratulate your newest member and welcome aboard. And I want to applaud you and your board members for helping me and my staff get the word out that if you're not, don't advertise if you're not licensed. So thank you for that. Do you have any questions, sir?
I
I
have a
do not.
question.
Any
I
board
have one.
members?
Of course, I have a question.
Of course you do.
Obviously, we investigate people that are using the term landscape architecture. Did they also investigate when we have barriers to practice? If a complaint is brought to the DCP, can they investigate a barrier to practice?
Not sure I understand what you're saying, sir. Barrier to
When-
practice?
A barrier to practice is such where a organization such as a municipality will not recognize the qualifications of a landscape architect for the state statutes.
Unfortunately, the Department of Consumer Protection, for what we do for licensing enforcement, my staff and I have no jurisdiction over the local municipalities and
Mhm.
what they accept or they don't accept.
Okay. Just checking.
Permitting processes and that sort of questions would be best placed with the Office of the State Building Official. So if there's a particular municipality and that building department was not going to provide a permit or something of that nature to a licensed landscape architect, then that the person that's being held back would be best served by contacting the state building official's office and indicating what municipality it was where they had the issue.
Good. That's good information. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're
That's
welcome,
actually
sir.
a little bit different than we've heard before, so that may be a different avenue.
That is different. Yeah, that's different.
Then could you enlighten me, gentlemen, please, as to what you've heard in the past as a barrier to,
Yeah. You guys can chime in on that one.
Well, it's been a multiple decade-long problem with, we'll say, a handful of state towns, municipalities, as well as probably more recently, the Department of Transportation of the state of Connecticut not accepting the landscape architectural stamp or seal for things that our state statute allows us to stamp and seal, like incidental drainage is usually one of the big ones. So there is a handful of municipalities and the Department of Transportation who just are not accepting our seal. So what we've done in the past, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So what we've done in the past is we have an infamous letter that was written by a former chair of this state board that pretty much references state law, and it has been drafted, it's been submitted. We have talked at this board level to update that letter, which has not been done to date. But basically the letter falls on deaf ears at these municipal levels, which they don't choose to accept the stamp.
Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but to get to the question, I believe that the process we were told to follow in the past was to make a formal complaint to the
Mhm.
Attorney General's office. And in line with what we've just been told, that complaint has to be by the individual that has been wronged. But in my mind, the difference that we just heard, which I don't have a problem with, that's actually, I think, a little bit clearer.
Yeah.
But again, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark and Dom. I believe we have been told in the past that the complaint had to be made in writing, which is fine, but the complaint had to be made to the Attorney General's office.
That could be if that's what you're saying, I wasn't part of that process and was unaware of it. But if in the past you were told to have the individual write to the Attorney General's office to file the complaint, that would make sense as well, because we don't have, as an licensing enforcement entity, I have no control over the town or the city. I have
Yep.
no control over DOT. However, if it was a permitting thing, you might want to have them contact the state building official's office for a little guidance and see what they could do with that there. As far as the letter you have crafted from your past board chair, that's something you would want to possibly work out with Cynthia Fernandez if she is assisting at this board, and possibly John Mesner, because Mesner is the state program manager taking, for the better lack of a better term, Richard Hurlbert's place.
Yeah.
So you might want to reach
Well,
out to him.
I think that's a good point. There's change right now at a lot of different state levels, which may be helpful, Phil.
I'm looking for as many arrows in the quiver as we can,
Yeah.
I think, and this single point of, the person that has been wronged, when it comes to the municipalities, that, we're going to push it back on our society. Maybe those letters will help to see if they can push those through to the Attorney General as well.
Mhm.
And then, but it can be copied to the building official. It can be copied to anybody at that point. They should copy us. They should copy anybody who makes a complaint. There should be a process where you can copy as many individuals in as possible.
Yeah, not that it's going to do any good, but let's just make sure that, first of all, this is in the meeting minutes.
Correct.
Very clearly. And second of all, so the membership, well, let me just say the licensed landscape architects in the state are under the misinformed interpretation that the board acts on their behalf on these issues.
Correct.
So this is great. This is great guidance. And so definitively, the message is it's up to each individual to make the complaint. And again, we can go down the rabbit hole, but that's part of the problem. No individual is willing to make a complaint. So anyway, we can talk offline about that.
No, it's fine. Just asking questions.
Yeah, no, but
understood.
Mr. Chairman, as Board Member Barlow just said, that is entirely true, because that's what we tell people when they contact the department, that 1, you have the complaint, 2, you put it in writing. If it's something DCP handles, you send it to our online complaint portal. If it's not, we'll tell them whether they could go to the Attorney General's office or the state building official's office or some other entity in the state if it's not us.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I don't know if solution's the right word, but this board can play a role in it, but we are not the deciding factor. We can assist, but it's also the chapter of ASLA. It's the, it's
It's
the
the
individual. There's a lot
professional.
of pieces that have to keep pushing this along.
Yeah,
And that's
correct
what I
me
thought.
again-
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's what I told him.
Okay.
I said, we need like a single page playbook. This is what you can do, and just, that's it. That's what
Yeah.
you have to do.
And I think, again, what the board can do, which you articulated, Mark, the board can send a letter. And again, this is a discussion we keep having, so let's put all our cards on the table. If somebody feels differently, let's talk about it. But what the board can do is send a letter out to municipalities. That's the only hammer we have.
Yeah, I mean, we can send it out to municipalities. We can make it available, and the beauty of online, we can make it very available. So
Yep.
I think
It's a good
that has
idea.
to stay on our meeting minutes, as we need to update the letter. It just hasn't been done yet.
And, okay, but the update is changing the date.
Pretty well, the update's changing the date and just double checking it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Under new signature, I guess, right?
And
the
the
name.
name.
This
signature.
board.
And the name.
Yep.
Yeah.
This
Yep.
board. Well, I
Yep,
would
that's
rather,
right.
honestly, I'd rather the letter be signed by the entire board,
Sure. Not a
You know?
problem.
right? Okay.
Absolutely.
So can I ask a quick question of Jason or Marguerite? Who's actually doing the meeting minutes? I want to make sure when I say add this to the meeting minutes.
Hi, my name's Jennifer Rector. I'm currently doing the minutes. And I
Hi.
noted all that for you.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. Number 4, Dom, hold your excitement. Review of licensure timing requirements and statute versus regulations.
So
I'm
what
here.
you're saying, I was right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, you were right. This is Cynthia again. So I don't know if you all had a chance to see the revision I sent out. Right, I kind of sent that last minute yesterday, but yes, it's been updated. It is correct that the regulations don't really conflict with the statute, but it wasn't clear. And it also used the language of diversified experience where the statute says practical experience. So I just, clean that up to make that jive better with the statute. So
Nice.
this has already been submitted to the Office of Policy and Management, which is the first step in, having a regulation passed. And I think that it's kind of a glacial process that takes a while. They're also kind of bogged down with the end of session, which I believe runs to the end of the month. So they're kind of swamped with that. So I can keep you all updated as this moves through. It shouldn't be an issue because it literally just reflects what the statute says and should have said all along. So once it comes up for public comment and as it makes its way through the whole regulation review process, I can keep you guys updated. Yeah, any questions?
No, I read it. It was good.
No,
Perfect.
thank you very much. And thank you, board member Saltruda, for sticking on this one.
Yeah.
The other thing that I will do is we'll make sure we forward this on to CLARB, so that they can sort of adjust their color-coded map.
On yellow, aren't we?
Yes, we officially are yellow. And for Janice, for your benefit, this had to do with, we did have some applicants, quite a few applicants coming to us seeking licensure, with a past exam, with the education requirements and with the experience, but that being the first time that we heard from them, when in actuality, people should be coming to us and saying, here's my education, here's my experience, can I sit for the exam?
And I want to go on the record saying, I'm not doing this to cause a hang up. I just believe in the 3, and I think Janice, you had brought it up. The 3 elements are just as important as any single element, and that time under the licensed landscape architects. You know, it's written into our statute that way, and I think it makes for better landscape architects in the long run. I think it's a benefit, and it was always there. We just weren't really clear on it. That's all.
Yeah, and it did put the board in a weird situation a lot of times when, you know, we had all the 3Es met and it's like, how do we say no when, so good. Thank you very much. I'm glad it's getting cleared up. Okay, number 5, new business, reinstatement of inactive landscape architectural license. Ms. DeSimini, we did have a good conversation under any members present. I think we talked through that one. I think we have a good path forward. And I don't think we have to do anything else on that particular item. Second item under number 5, request for continuing education waiver, Kleinman. Information was submitted.
What was this?
That was the CE waiver form. And I'm having trouble locating it actually at the moment.
So am I. I'm trying to find mine too.
So am I. I don't remember seeing it.
Does anybody from the state have it available?
Was not in our packet.
Or when they sent it to, if they sent it to us, or when?
So that question goes to Marguerite, Jennifer, or Jason if he's still on the line.
Jason's the one who sends them out, so I can reach out to him right now quickly, because it doesn't look like he's still on.
Well,
Yeah, that
I'm
would
not
be-
even sure what it's about, so I mean,
Yeah,
unless
there,
he gets it to us, we can't act on anything.
yeah, I know there was some documentation on a new CE waiver form. But I remember, I don't know. Well, let's move past that one. Hopefully we'll get a little information on it. And then we'll move right into our current applications for licensing. Did everyone have a chance to review Beebe, Fallon, Seneschal, Harrison, Matz, Sealy, or I believe it's Zong? We can take them individually. I believe we had a little bit more information on one of them.
Yeah, please. There's a couple, I don't remember which one it was.
And I believe we do have some of these applicants in the audience. Specifically, William Todd Seeley. I see him in the audience. So why don't we grab that one first? Hi, William.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
You go by Bill or William?
I go by Todd, just to add some
Todd,
confusion.
perfect.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having.
We just lost you quickly.
Yeah, I think my internet connection's going in and out. Sometimes I'm being cut out. Can you hear me and see me okay?
We can hear you. Maybe if you turn your camera off, it might give you a little bit more bandwidth. Not that we don't want to look at you, but sometimes it helps out.
Yeah, I'm not much to look at these days. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I can address any questions if you'd like, or if I need to give a background, I'm here to provide any information.
Thank you. So I will put it out to the board if you have any questions for Todd.
No question.
So Janice, what we do is we usually just run through each individual applicant, just if there's anything question on, you know, a transcript, experience, we're looking for that 2 years. And we can talk amongst ourselves. If the applicant is present, we can ask them questions. Usually I can tell you, Todd is this is unusual that we have an applicant in attendance. Usually it's a pretty straightforward process, but we do have discussion on sometimes education seems to be the topic that generates the most questions.
I'll go first. I think, he's got the educational background. He did his 2 years, looks like in New York, which is fine. So he's met that requirement. Looks like he's working for, I believe, a planning department, Todd, right now in Windsor.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Perfect. So you're working underneath AICP or something to that effect.
Yes, sir.
And you've passed all the portions of the exam, and he made himself available for questions. I see no problem with this applicant.
Right. Phil?
Did we lose Phil?
I see Phil on there. I think he's just muted. Janice, did you have a chance to look at it?
You're on mute, Janice.
I think he meets all the qualifications.
Right.
Not a problem.
I agree, Mark. I stepped away for a minute.
Okay. Let's just Dom, do you have anybody in particular? I'd love to approve them all at once if we can, unless we have. Do you have anything?
No, I do want to go on record that a few of them started the exam. Obviously, it's not in effect yet, but they started taking the exam prior to the 2 years of experience. But that's it. I don't have a problem with any of them.
Gotcha. Phil?
Good.
Janice?
I'm good. And is there, I should do a little more research before I ask a question,
No.
but is there a letter from the current employer in everyone's file?
So usually what happens, it's through the CLARB certification process, and it's a verification or an unverification. The majority are verified, but we will see some in the CLARB record that are unverified. That leaves a little bit, what that means is they couldn't get in contact, even though they tried. The CLARB personnel tried to get in contact and verify that person's application or that person's experience. They were unable to verify it. So where that comes into a little bit of concern is when somebody's just at that 2-year mark and it's unverified, and that leads to some discussion. However, when they have 3 to 4 or 5 years of experience and a year of it's unverified, it really doesn't, they still meet that minimum requirement. But it is something you have to pay attention to. Okay, so does somebody want to make a motion for approval of applications for the 6 people that we have, 6 applicants that we have?
So moved.
Second? Somebody want to second that? Janice, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, item 5B is applications for licensing by waiver of examination. These have already been approved, and this is administrative. 5C, again, corporate practice, landscape architecture, again, administratively approved. We have to take no action. In the group chat, we did get some information, I think.
We did. Get the CEU hardship waiver extension request.
Okay, if you, should be a link. Okay, Arthur Kleinman. Okay, this is the first one that we've gotten of these. I'm glad to see that people are actually paying attention. So Janice, we have had, through COVID, through the pandemic, we had pushed all CEUs to be online or recorded. At our last meeting, we actually moved it to, what did we say, 6 hours of it had to be in person. And this is the first waiver that we've had requesting theirs to be still all video. I don't think this will be the last waiver request, but it is the first, so it's up for discussion. Unmute.
Okay,
ahead.
I just offer a comment. Two of my employees during COVID are immunocompromised and worked remotely, and both are continuing to. One of them is a licensed landscape architect, Cornell. She trained me in my first job 39 years ago. She's the best landscape architect I have ever worked with, and she will not go on in a public situation. So I have to say that I have a personal bias in that if someone feels that strongly or is immunocompromised, they should be able to follow their medical protocol and stay licensed.
Thank you for the comment.
I'm in full agreement with that. However, I am a skeptic, and I think some people will utilize that because there's really no way we can actually ask for any sort of proof of that without interrupting HIPAA laws at that point. So I agree with you, though. If someone is immune compromised and feels better, staying online, that's fine. I, however, really push for the in-person, some portion thereof in person. I think it's beneficial to collaboration. Say what you want about online, but the online collaboration in my office is dismal sometimes at best. We made it work during COVID. During COVID, people had nothing else to do, so you would collaborate. But now it's a different animal sometimes within that. So I don't have a problem. I just think we may see an influx of people who are less than forthcoming in terms of, oh, this is an easy way to get out of going in person altogether. So but I agree. There's nothing we can do. You have to. I know if Mark Aragoni submits he's immune compromised, I'm going to call him out on it. So
Thank you for your comment, Board Member Soltruda. Mr. Barlow, do you have any comment? Okay. Yeah, I think the board made the right decision to reinstate the 6 hours, or at least go to at least 6 hours in person. I think we understand that not everybody will be able to meet that for the topics and the reasons that we discussed. But because our profession is really based on the collaborative approach and discussions and things like that, I think it's fair that we acted. We're requesting that 6 hours of it be in person. We know that not everybody's going to be able to do it, and we'll handle it on a case-by-case basis, which is why we have the waiver process. So with that being said, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the waiver?
I'll make the motion to approve the waiver.
Second?
A second.
Janice will second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Phil, I don't know if you're there. Three will stand though and make and pass the waiver. Okay, good. So now we know how to get through that process when we have the next one, because that's the first time for me.
Yeah, it's the first time I've seen that document.
Right? Okay, 6. Has there been any additional correspondence? Just for the record, I did get 2 letters. I referenced them before. I got one from Glenn Martin. I got one from John Lucy. I will scan those in and get those into the files, so we have them. I did not get anything else. I don't think. Nope, I guess we did not get anything else. And then we did have number 7. We did have a lot of comments today. It was great. Our meeting, thankfully for Janice's purposes, was a little lively today, which is good. We look forward to appointing another member, Maureen Nicholson, which at our next meeting in August, maybe we can get her sworn in before that. So we'll have a even fuller board moving forward. But that's exciting. That'll be our first public member in a couple years. We may even have another public member, but we do have currently vacancy for 2 more public members. So if there is somebody in mind, seeing as how we got Janice an appointment letter, we got Maureen an appointment letter, maybe we have a little bit of momentum, and it would be nice to have a full board.
Janice, just so you understand, we made it a point like last year to really try to get our board more robust and, have the full, I mean, we'll all have to meet in person at some point. If we get the full board built, we've done good. It's tough. It really is tough to do, but we appreciate you coming on board. Definitely. It just makes the licensure stronger and the profession stronger.
Why were you, if I can ask, and I know I don't want to take anyone's time, what is the difficulty in getting people on the board?
It's not that the public member is an interesting one because it's a unique position. But there is a little bit of a disconnect between the members. The board members are appointed through the governor's office, but yet our commission and our board is run through Department of Consumer Protection. So that it's just hard. There's a lot of coordination that has to happen. We had some change at the administrative level in government, which is always a challenge. But to this board's credit, we pushed and pushed and pushed, and thankfully we had people like you who wanted to volunteer and are passionate about landscape architecture. And now we do have a public member, and I believe we have another public member that hopefully we get in there.
We might have another one. Yeah, I think we're.
Yeah, so it's all good, but it does take a little bit of work.
The other hang up pre-COVID, everyone met in Hartford. Let's not forget that. We used to meet in person in Hartford all the time. I think this is a lot easier if someone can have a cup of coffee and sit in their kitchen or at work, and call in for the 2+ hours.
But just
I appreciate that. I think it is an essential part of our profession, not only to protect it, but also to expand our areas of practice to be taken more seriously in the permitting processes. And, it's important. I am always dumbfounded by the amount of people who don't want to sit for the exam that apply to my firm. I'm just dumbfounded by it. It's just, we can do hard things.
And I think that's why we want to re-engage or maybe engage for the first time the University of Connecticut, and get to those students and maybe dispel any myths of, the Board of Landscape Architecture or CLARB and, what is CLARB and licensure and examination. And I think it's way, way overdue that we develop a stronger relationship with our one institution that's accredited.
I think it's going to be great. They have to understand. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I will say in my own experience years ago, CLARB made me jump through many, many, many hoops, and I was happy to do so because I wanted the credibility. I wanted the everything about being serious about a profession that this represents. And I think that this needs to be stressed in many different ways to the practitioners that we have. I'm glad to be able to put my thoughts together more formally about that.
Great. The last thing I'll add in here to the meeting minutes is let's possibly, I understand the virtual meeting is beneficial to all of us in balance of our professional lives. But perhaps one of these meetings in a year, we might think of getting together. And I think the August one is tough because it's summer. Potentially the fall one is one I would like to target for a in-person meeting. And just put that sort of in the meeting minutes for consideration. I'm sure we could do a hybrid scenario. The technology is there. I've seen the technology in our rooms at the state building. So let's possibly target that November meeting.
Mhm. I think it's very hard to ask people to take their CEUs in person if we're not willing to meet in person. once
There's a
year.
whole bunch of things that are tied in there.
Yeah, and I also just would say that I think, one of the points of licensure is integrity of the profession. And if people are not actually taking their CEUs offline, it's ridiculous, right? I mean, we are licensing people to have accountability, responsibility, and integrity.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, with that said,
I love
if there are no more comments, I think we can close this meeting.
Did we have the corporate practice of landscape architecture 5C? Or did that get approved with everything?
Okay, so that is an administrative approval. They file the
okay.
application. If they meet it, DCP staff approves that one. We get noticed of who they are. And that's pretty standard practice. We usually have one or two every meeting.
Okay, well, she's a very good professional. I know of her work.
It's good to hear. It's good to hear.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you, State of Connecticut staff who were here. Thank you very much, and we will see everybody in August. I look forward to our new contact at the University of Connecticut to make this happen. And I think the best case scenario would be is if we all could attend. It just makes a stronger front.
Be a good time.
All right.
You're
All
gonna
right.
reach out
Thank
to
you
her
all, and
tomorrow.
welcome, Janice.
Who's reaching
All right,
out to
thank
her?
you. Nice to meet everyone. Bye-bye.
It's on me.
Got it. Goodbye,
All right.
everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.